Hello people, how are you? This small video is something a little bit different than we usually do here at Herbalist of Gehenna. But we just got this amazing book by Anna Urbanek, and we decided to share it with you. It was sort of you present. We got the email late at night saying that it was finished and they wanted to share the book with backers before the actual release date. So I'm going to show it to you and make a little review on it. You could say this is the Herbalist Primer. For those of you who do not know, this like 300 page long book is not little by any means. It is a herbology guide for all sorts of purposes, from RPGs, which is the reason I bought it personally, to herbology in general. Like if you want to do foraging, you want to know plants, some herbal magic. This is an amazing acquisition. It's for sale. The link is gonna be below. So let's go into it. First, we have this amazing cover, beautiful illustrations, and this is the kind of illustrations we're gonna see head on in the book. See, that kind of illustration, this kind of illustration is what we're gonna see. This book would have never have happened if not for my mom, who had spent countless hours in her garden and on the walks through the countryside, sharing secrets and the love for botany. So you know everything you like here is because of her. Worth mentioning that. Thank you, mother. And as I mentioned, an introductory course for beginners, herbalists, healers, alchemists, and magicians. Double proficiency. Some notes by the author. Go apply the lore included in this primer to your tabletop roleplay adventures. Do not apply it to your wounds. The book will get dirty. Now, basic of botany, herbalism, plant magic, and a bunch of plants. Almost 250 pages of plants, recipes, toxin and antidotes, gardening and cultivation, and appendices for medicine, my correspondence, astrologic, language of flowers, Latin, plant generation tables if you want to make your own plants. This is there as well. References, plant locations, which are also included on the plant themselves. Beautiful illustration. Now, we're gonna see this thing quite fast. An explanation of how this book is composed, content, medical properties, acknowledgements, which are always important, and the lore primer, basic of botany, herbalism. This is more theoretical side, the domain, kingdom, freedom, class, order, family of plants, that sort of science side of things, reproduction, fertilization, respiration, nutrition, a nice visual guide of herbaceous plants, shrubs, trees, climbers, epiphytes, parasites, insectivores, symbiont plants, structure for root, samples, habitats. So we have a good explanation of everything we just see. Visually, we understand it here. It's not just like names. More guides, which is great. Like with this the missing side of many RPGs, especially medieval ones, that are lacking something when we're talking about nature-based classes like druids or rangers. With this, it can, you as a DM or as a player, you can have more knowledge. Bring this knowledge to the table and be more competent, and get a spotlight, or give a spotlight to your players. The stems, the habitat, the shape of plants, all of these things you might not use as, say, these kind of names in a really scientific detail, but on the base level, once you understand it, you can really paint the picture for your players. Say your players need an antidote. They don't know the plan. There is no druid, there is no ranger in the party. So somebody tells them, okay, you need to go to the peak of the mountain. There you will see a dark green plant with, say, palmate leaves, and say really long linear smaller leaves. As they are growing, they will open into this huge mature leaf, for example. The arrangement is alternate, so you really paint the picture if you're making something up for them. The margins of the leaves, quite nice. Flowers, same thing, but we're not really gonna get into this now. Fruits, these kind of explanations, quite nice when you are maybe showing a player a really exotic fruit. Understanding these could work quite nicely. And obviously we have description, basic of herbalism, harvesting, freezing, drying, storing, documenting, preparation of decoctions, ointments, infusions, tinctures, syrups, salves, powders. So, for example, if your players need to make an ointment, or they go buy an ointment made from scratch, you can describe that process. You cannot say, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm gonna make it. It's 3 gold, you come in 5 days. No, you can describe the process, and with this, you can really understand how things, how much time it can take. Common terms for herbal medicine. Now I understand why or how to call things, which is great. Herbal magic, if you wanna get into this with some ethics. This system is not quite that fitting for, say, Vancian magic, which we see in Pathfinder or D&D. I'm talking about all iterations. 2nd edition, advanced, 3rd edition, 3.5, 5th edition. It might require a little bit more of work, but yes, understanding this, you can homebrew maybe some extra components based on what the plant does for certain spells, or potions or items if you want to get them to look for components. The potency of herbs, tools that are likely common, symbols, and rituals. So if you have some sort of ritual or some date kind of fit in your world, you can get these kind of herbal components and rituals in those specific dates within your games. Colors, pretty useful. Navigating plants, this is a sample, just so you understand the structure of the book. Quite nice. You have these beautiful botanic classic drawing. The name, this is just a sample again, sample plant. You see A, which is the flower and branches. B, the top one here, which is the fruit, and then we have ripe fruit and seeds. And a scale. You see a scale reference. We have these 5 little tags. If the plant is medicinal, protective, edible, psychoactive, or poisonous, we're gonna see them appearing depending on what the plant is. The family name, popular name of the plant, climate, which is super important, size, life cycle, so you can then know where you can find it. How is it used in foraging? What parts you need for certain things, color, time of blooming, leaves. And now, well, this is the actual text and description of the plant. Sorry. The script, scientific name, popular names, really useful. A small description, long description here. Habitat and cultivation, foraging and preparation. If a ranger is looking for a thing, this is what you're looking for. Clear properties of how you need to cook this, you can describe that. Medical properties, medicinal properties. And if there's any sort of poisonous property, you will find it here. This is for oaks. Beautiful. Now, this is an actual plant. The first one, aconite. You see these bluish flower, the structure of the leaves, the root system, aconite, the flower tops, the right seeds, seed pods, the leaves and the root, quite tall, and it has everything. It's medicinal, protective, it can be edible, psychoactive, and it can be poisonous. As a matter of fact, you will see something here, next page. The aconite is wolfbane, also known as monkshoot, blue rocket, forest cap, and wolfbane. This is wolfbane. This is the thing he will give to a werewolf. A highly toxic herb with multiple purple flowers, commonly used in production of poisons, vermin repellent, anti-inflammatory medicine, and potions of flight. You have a description. You can use this to describe the plant. Hey, there are some werewolves in the woods. We need you to go to get wolfbane for us. You need before anything, because we need protection. And when you go to kill them, can you get the wolfbane? I don't know the plant. I haven't ever seen them. Okay, look, this plant you'll find in the dampest part of the woods. Habitat and cultivation. Aconite flourish in the damp woods of the lower mountain slopes of temperate regions. So they have to go into mountain, to a low part where it's damped. That's where they're gonna find it. You describe it. It's a dark green. It's plant with dark green stems and even darker leaves. It ends in these caps of purple flowers that assimilate the hood of a monk. If you see bees, follow the bees. They might help you. Double check that the roots are pale. That's a telling that you have the right plant, just to be safe. You see how you give them this explanation. Now they go in. You told them foraging. The root is the most important part of the aconite plant. In goes the ranger. Level 1, have never seen wolfbane, but they know how to take care of things. You describe how they forage, how they go in for the root and they cut it. You describe the late autumn scene. You say, okay, you put on some gloves, some leather gloves, and you clean it in cold water by the nearby river yada yada yada. Now, you can take the micro properties and modify them, say, for the werewolf purpose, but you have some interesting things, and just from like a really quick overview, I really describe something quite nice in different scenes within a game. Now, Ader's Tongue. Now we see, for example, here we have only two. It is good for the health and it can be eaten. It is perennial. It can be found in temperate and tropical moist meadows and pastures. So we know like lowlands, pretty flat lands. It is, well, Ader's Tongue fern. It is common, so it's gonna be hard to find. And all spices. Now this is a tree. Okay, yeah. Quite an interesting book, as you can see. There is all these beautiful things. Bogmeyer, beautiful illustrations, a bee there. I think that was cinnamon. Look at this, a snapdragon. Beautiful. A star anise. Sunflower. What are the properties of sunflower? Michael properties. A player will not expect that. I really wouldn't. Sweetgrass. Thyme. Tobacco. Willow. Witch hazel. And this is the last one, you. Honestly, I do feel that this book lacked certain plants that are most common in non-temperate European-centric locations. Kind of plants that, like mangoes, for example, cassava. Plants that are more common to, as I mentioned, non-Europe-centric places of the world: South America, Africa, Asia. There is a holder, maybe they do an expansion on that. And I do understand that it's likely they are coming from the market. Many people do play in these Europe-centric fantasy worlds, and we're talking exclusively on RPGs. We're not delving in the fact that none of these, nobody that gets this book is going to get that information on those plants. But if I only play in pretty Europe-centric locations, I might not find dragon fruit because it doesn't grow in that location. It is more on tropical weather, so I'm not gonna see it. Maybe it was imported, who knows? But that is an observation I do have. Look at this beautiful illustration. Now, practical herbalist. Now, if you want to do a thing in real life, this is good explanation. You can sell this to your players as kit. Flavor, taste, aroma, scent, odor, mouthfeel, texture. Kind of tools you might need. Maybe in a fantasy setting you will not have all of these, but you do get an understanding. Equipment. If you want to get into herbalism, such as transportation, all the things. Now, metric units, and here are recipes like courage oil, divine soap, dream pillow, oracle syrup, infusions, decoctions, essential oils, syrups, tinctures, quite a few things that you can try at home if you forage or get these plants. Infused oils. You have the standard preparation or guidelines, all the ingredients, and what is good for. Code an item within a layer that make it look and feel like pure gold attracts dragon. Soups. For example, the Fatal Attraction, a beautiful, colorful, incredible aromatic soup made of veggies, broad and flowers, petals. While toxic to most mammals, it is the favorite of the Fae. We'll go to great lengths to eat a bowl of the soup. This scent attract faithful and small critters. See, this book is a mine of pure gold for RPGs. Vinegars. And it has so many things. This was a short video and we're like on 20 minutes now. Blends, bats. Toxin and antidotes. The rogues, here you have poison, toxin, toxic, and venom, poisonous, venomous, antidote, panacea. Different things, different descriptions. Maybe in Spanish, like poisonous and venomous are not different words, but great descriptions. Role of toxin plants. Guidelines of some of them. Obviously, they don't really give you recipes on that, but you understand like some specific like measurements. So how much would a rogue will need of nightshade to get something done? Arrow poison, peasant weed control, in intentional poisoning, protection from toxins. All good things you can include in your game. Treatment, how to stabilize somebody, decontaminate, antidotes. Gardening and cultivation. Not so, I don't really see much use for these in the RPG context. Again, it is not bad, but I don't know about how much this could help. Planning and planting. If you have a garden, for sure, amazing. Companion plants. Again, this is planting. What plant is good for XYZ? Planting with another plant. Pretty cool. Growing plants. Pests and diseases. There might be something here if you wanna maybe ruin the crops of a small town. Get some inspiration. And appendices. Medical use of herb. So a quick guideline. So maybe there is some magical fungus eating a city. You might wanna try and get some antifungal plants to try and test a concoction that might help and aid in this. You might get you some bonuses. You know that you might look for allspice or bay, bloodroot, yarrow, sage, that kind of thing. Maybe you wanna include some new components. Right? You don't have a cleric in your party, but you really want to reduce the inflammation on a wound, and maybe a character is secant, so you're gonna look for some catnip to use to get them fixed, so they don't have that nausea. Some interesting ideas, right? If they got born by a fireball, again, no cleric, how do you want to treat that? You want to look for a nettle, you want to look for pine or raspberry, and use them as how this book tells you to use it for that. So quite nice. Michael correspondence. What kind of plants are related to something? You go to a divination wizard and maybe they need some moonwort to pull a spell, so you need to look for the moonwort. Or you tell, hey, they use these components, like, and how they use it, right? It does evoke that sense of magic. Purification. I don't know, so like a correspondence. Honestly, I don't know how to use this, but it is quite nice to have this extra thing. You can build like equivalents to planets if you have your own planets to guide yourself around certain fictional, I guess, deities instead of these ones. You can also do that. And it's quite a lengthy, really complete guidelines, like 100 plants, which is amazing. Language of flowers. This is more of what gifting certain flowers mean, and what is the message. Then there is a culture around that. Super nice thing to know. Floral language on Felix specifically. Super nice. Latin names for understanding. You're gonna put in Latin. Black and colors. And here is the thing. These I think is very useful. Azure is, for example, the color in heraldry, the blue. So if you see a blue shield, you see an azure, a shield of azure color. That's more fitting in heraldry. Ater, an aureus shield or armor for golden. You see how things are kind of adjacent just from plants. Not everything has to do with plants. Textures of things. Dusty, bony, bearded, papery, opaque. And I don't mean, and I'm not talking about the Latin names, but the names themselves. Like, honestly, I have never really used most of these words describing a texture. Like bonus content, beautiful. Growth habits, direction, habitats. Plant generation table, how to create names. Roll 20, roll 10, roll 6, 2d6s. So you roll, I have a 20 here. So actually, let's do this thing. I'm gonna roll it twice, and we're gonna make a plant, right? The first one was, this is a 6. Fire, nice, fire. Fire what? 3. Fire bean. Okay, that wasn't quite nice. But we can make something quite interesting of a fire bean. Now let's, again, I only have a 20. Let's roll for variety. But that was a 16, so let's say that's a 6. It is rare to find a fire bean. I can find it on a shrub. It is a really hard to find shrub. And again, this will be a 2, and it has some sort of industrial use. See, interesting. The climate. Let's do it. 12. Okay. I found it is found on the sea, on a marine climate. Interesting. Maybe we can. It doesn't make sense. It's like by the name and the location. Why? It's like some godly being against the fire and ocean deities. That's why the fire being exists. Who knows? 9 for the biome. Plains. So on coastal plains. And a quirk. No, let's give it a quirk to fire beam. Shall we? Quite nice. 7. What is the 7 here? It's orange sharp spikes. Of course it is. Oh boy, it's such a hassle to get a bean. I have to go to a sea and look for a shrub with a lot of spines to get a bean. Now, for what do I need? I needed to make I need the leaves. I don't even need the beans. I need the leaves of this plant. Not nice. And I needed 415. I needed to scatter on the wind. Oh my god, this is enough a quest. And once I do that, what is my benefit? 16. It suits my skin. Yeah, I sure hope so. My guess is that I'm gonna have a lot of cut from those spikes. Now, let's say if I get cut by those spikes, I get some. There is a poison there, right? So what do I get? I get a 12 here. Neurological damage. You know, my skin is not worth that much. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, but there is a magical effect of allowing seeing in the dark. I guess humans look for that a lot. Okay, adventure seeds, again, beautiful thing. Good ideas. Let's look into some of them, shall we? While trekking to an evergreen forest, you stumble upon a number of tall pines. Trunks strip of bark up to a human height. Can happen. Makes sense. You know, people get bark to make paper and whatnot. If going further down this path, you encounter an angry bear standing on his limb that scares you off. Okay. What else? You encounter villagers busily gather mugwort around the hedge. Okay, yeah. Because mugwort within a hedge, I assume. They explain a witch has moved to the area. Okay, surely a woman living alone in the woods must be not but a witch, of course. Therefore, the whole village gathered barns of mugwort despite the early spring chill, planning to stew it all around their houses. Protective magic. Okay. Buzzing of bees attract your attention. The agitated insects fly in circles above a copse of dead leaves. On the ground, 2 bees face off, walking left and right as trying to flank one another. A sweet smelling lemon balm flower lies between them. Ooh, bee fight. I like that. Quite nice. Bee fight. Nice. There is a bunch of them. References. Real plants. You can see here Aleph stone, in real world known as English Aleph stone. Need references. And if you back this book, you got like a neat deck of cards with all these to show your players. Oh, that's a nice cinnamon, quite nice. Ivy, pine, rose. Okay, bibliography, quite interesting. Plant location guide. Coast, desert, and forest. It is also described on the plans as we saw. Like, this is something that was important. Once they started releasing this project in really small booklets, they were sold around the biome they grew up. So I bought this small 10 pages book with like 10 pages plants that grew in taiga or in I guess maybe a jungle. I heard 3 or 4 of those. So really understanding when these plants grow and put them in the right locations. If you don't know a lot of plants, you're clearly you're not gonna know where do they grow, which is my case, for example. This is super important, and yes, it is on the other part, on the actual plant description. But C for cold, temperate, and W for warm. Coast, desert, and forest, and we have where do they grow, so we know exactly where they are. But nice. So we know that rosemary will grow only in deserts. Where is rosemary? Of temperate and warm. Poppy might grow in cold deserts, so it's like really common. Quite useful. Quite useful. And it's not only these 3, like, yeah, we have more forests. But what about freshwaters and banks and garden plantations, like grasslands and field, marshes? This is really important. This is a super important part of the book for me. I don't like maybe how they put it. I would make the book a little bit more modular in the sense that it would have been organized based on this. So I will go in marshes, and just a chapter of marshes will have the marsh plants. This is what happens with RPGs, and I know this book is not exclusive for RPGs. Is that you play location based. So if I know that my party is traversing through a marsh, I rather go directly to a marsh and look what they are looking for and what they're going to encounter plant wise, rather than looking through all the plants for marshes. Yes, I can look for these, but I will have to move from A to B to C and reference back to these appendix at the end of the book, rather than having all marsh plants together. So that would have been nice, and it would have been more fitting to the first releases, the small booklet guidelines based on biomes, mountains, urban locations, wastelands, quite nice. They put wastelands, and a bunch of images. There is a huge poster with plants. If you back this project, and the cards, quite cool. And an index, so really useful to have an index at the end of the book. And yep, that is the Herbalist Primer, a guide to real world magic plants, a mix of ethnobotany, folklore, green witchcraft, occult, and science, fully illustrated, an all-in-one book for druids, healers, alchemists, and poisoners, perfect as an in-world item and applicable in all fantasy and modern settings. A system agnostic toolkit for game masters everywhere, complete with tips and including the plants in your campaign, and creating new exciting pieces of lore. You can buy this beautiful book at Exalted Funeral, and we're on almost 40 minutes, and I am so sorry for that. But we did saw this book in completion. It is not gonna be sold physically for a while yet. This was a kind of Yule present in this darkest night of winter. A pre-release, a quick release, whatever you want to call it. But it was quite amazing. I hope this video is useful to you. and you would consider buying this book and really giving something to your druids, to your scouts, to your rangers, however you call them, because that part of exploration and that wilderness, which is scary and unknown to humans, maybe even dwarves, in the Middle Ages, need that sort of mysticism. Most of us grew in cities, I know that this I did, and I have no understanding of nature. I can walk near a ravine and not fall out, but I don't know plants. That's why this book is so amazing, and I hope you enjoy this beautiful, beautiful video on the Herbalist Primer. And that's all. See you next time.